Hello, everybody. Welcome to Zone Defense. We talk all things NBA and NFL. Be sure to follow us on Spotify at Zone Defense Podcast, on Twitter at Zone Defense Pod, and smash that subscribe button down below because it really helps out our channel a lot. Also, let us know if you think the Cardinals will go 17-0 this season. Today, we'll be doing our Week 8 NFL game picks. How's it going, Chris?
What's going on, Drew? I missed last week, fortunately for me, because it was literally the worst NFL slate I've ever seen in my life. There was like one game that was decided by a score or less, and then there was also the Seattle New Orleans game, which was absolutely unwatchable. So just a downright terrible slate. But luckily for us, we got a lot better slate this week. I'm very much looking forward to this one. I think there's a lot of good matchups that could go either way, and I'm excited to talk about it with you.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, Roman is not able to be here tonight for the episode. Um, Yeah, I think it might be the first NFL episode he's missed ever, at least since he's been a part of the podcast. So it's going to be definitely kind of weird. But I know you and I will hopefully do a pretty good job at filling his void and still doing well with the pod. But how about you get us into the news and notes here?
Yeah, some injuries from last week. I mean, there wasn't a crazy amount. There's a couple big ones. Zach Wilson knee injury, he's gonna miss some time. And I'll get into the next one. Philly traded Flacco to the Jets, kind of shows that he's gonna miss some time for sure. I expect Flacco to get some starts here, but Mike White will be starting, the rookie. Or I'm not even sure if he's a rookie, but he's not very good. It doesn't matter. He looked awful last year or last week. But Mahomes had that scary hit after just playing like absolute garbage all game, but he had that scary hit. He's all right. He's going to play. Miles Sanders ankle injury. He's going to miss some time. It looks like Josh Jacobs chest injury. I don't think it's that serious. They got the bye. I don't think it's anything to really worry about. Um, Darren Waller, he missed last week, unfortunately for my fantasy team. Having him in my lineup, I probably would have won, but he missed with that ankle injury. Should be fine after the bye, too. Donovan Peoples-Jones. Jabril Peppers is out for the season. And then lastly, Devontae Adams is going to miss the Thursday night game, which is big time news. And also, Alan Lazard also going to miss the game. Um, both on the COVID list for the game, and both have it. So unfortunate for the Packers. But actually, with a weird stat is Aaron Rodgers actually has better numbers without Devontae Adams, but it's a very small sample size. I know it's kind of a cherry pick stat, but he has legitimate better both real life and fantasy numbers without Devontae Adams since he's been a part of the team. So that's kind of crazy to me. It really is. But some other couple other things here. Sam Darnold was benched mid game against or last week. He played like crap downright against the Giants. Looked absolutely terrible. PJ Walker came in, looked just as bad. He's still apparently the starter until Deshaun Watson ends up getting traded there, which it's a possibility, a possible destination. It sounds like the talks are really heating up. They've been kind of hit or miss throughout the season, but right now you got teams like Miami, the aforementioned Panthers, maybe Washington, Denver, a couple other teams in the mix. Um, for me, I think Watson. I think he goes to Miami soon, and I think it's going to happen, man. They're going to let him play. The commission, Roger Goodell already said he's going to be allowed to play. He's not going to go on the commissioner's list. So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense for Miami to make this move right now because they've won one game all year. I don't really get it, but at the same time, he's definitely an upgrade over Tua. I don't know if I'd give up the resources for a guy that could end up just being a 1 year rental for a quarterback on a team that has won one game and doesn't even have their own first round pick this year. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to end up being Miami, but I don't know if I really understand it if they're giving up multiple first rounders. So I guess we'll have to see. Drew, where do you think Watson is going to be going?
I mean, I think it's Miami too. Um, I know the Carolina rumor's been out there, but for me, that's just weird because they already picked up Darnold. I think they already picked up Darnold's option for next year. They signed. I know that feels like an eternity ago, but they signed Teddy Bridgewater to a huge free agency deal, then traded him the next year. Then they made the big trade to get Sam Darnold, gave him the option, and then they're going to trade Darnold again and then bring in Watson. It just feels like there's a lot of instability there. And Darnold, I mean, he obviously did not look great last week when I think the game was 5-3 for the most part, and which led him to get benched. But he was really good to start the year. And I think when you take away all of his weapons, namely CMC, he's going to struggle no matter what. And I will say, like Robbie Anderson, I mean, I was one of my big fantasy favorites of the year. Robbie Anderson, and he's been like non-existent both for fantasy wise and also just in real life. He's been a real letdown, real disappointment. Same thing with DJ Moore too, for the most part. He got off to a really good start, and then once CMC went down, he hasn't been as great either. So I don't think it's all Darnold's fault. So that's why I would be surprised if Watson goes there. It would be kind of cool though, since he did Watson to go to Clemson. So for him to be able to go back into the area. But I think it's most likely gonna be Miami, and I think maybe if you're Miami, like clearly Watson wants to go there. He's made it known that he wants to go there. And so I think in terms of re-signing him, they probably could, and also because I don't know how many other teams would want to re-sign him with all the baggage that Watson has. And if you're Miami, maybe you get him in the building. Maybe you're able to win some games here. Probably, I mean, the playoffs probably are out of the equation now. It's like you said, they've only won one game. But maybe they can kind of get some momentum going into next season, re-sign them, and then you're already kind of ready to go in the right direction. So I don't know. I do feel bad though for Tua because I feel like hasn't been bad, but it's just it got to be really hard for him as a young guy to be like, you're not playing awful, but the team's not winning, and now you're probably about to get traded, and it's just kind of a mess. So I feel bad for him. I hope this situation gets resolved sooner rather than later for Tua's sake, because I think if he is able to stay in Miami, I think he'll be really good. I think even if he gets traded to Houston, I think he'll be a really solid quarterback. Definitely an upgrade from Davis Mills, that's for sure. So overall, I think it's gonna be Miami. But I do understand some of the issues that maybe you would raise with him being traded there. But
Yep.
yeah, I think it'd be a cool test session though. That's for sure. If he's able to go there this year. And I'm just kind of done talking about this. I want something to happen already. We've been talking
Right.
about this for almost a year.
Yep. I agree with all that for sure. Drew, do you want to get us into the pick 'em now?
Absolutely. So we got, as you said, a much. I didn't think the slate last week was as bad as you were making it out to be, at least going into it. But then I think there was a ridiculous. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was a ridiculous amount of games that were decided by I think over 14 to 21 points. I mean that was blowout city all week last week. So you ended up being right. The slate was pretty bad. But I am pretty happy though that I did make up 2 games on you. So now we're both tied for second
Yeah.
place while Roman has a slight advantage there. He's 3 games up on both of us. So but we'll dive in now to a really good slate of action, starting with the Thursday night game, probably the best Thursday night game of the year so far, maybe the best Thursday night game of the entire season as a whole, and that's Green Bay, Arizona. Arizona, of course, is still undefeated. Green Bay's only got one loss, and that was that just week one weirdness that happened where they got blown out by the Saints. I do think that the Cardinals are overall just a better team. I'm not even going to go to you first. I already know who you're going to pick to win this game. And I know obviously Roman already picked Arizona. So I for that reason, I want to pick Green Bay just to be different. But as you mentioned at the top, they do are losing a lot of pieces due to COVID protocols, unfortunately. And Green Bay, like yeah, they've won, but they really haven't played a ton of like amazing teams. And they haven't looked great. And they haven't like dominated or anything like that. So I think I'm also going to go Arizona here. I think they're just rolling on all cylinders. Zach Ertz got in the end zone for his first game as a Cardinal. Hopkins has looked good. Christian Kirk has looked good. Rondale Moore's looked good. AJ Green's looked really good. Kyler's looked awesome. Their defenses look great. They just look like probably the best team in the league at the moment, to be honest with you. So I think they're going to be able to. This will be a statement game for the Cardinals, and for some reason, I do feel like that their 7-0 start is kind of going rather under the radar, weirdly enough. So I think this game in prime time could be a big statement win for the Cardinals.
Yeah, it's sad that the Packers have the second best quarterback in this game. Yeah, I said it.
Okay.
Kyler Murray is an absolute dog, and they're going to win this game. It's going to be a very good game, in my opinion. Like you said, I think this is one of the best, if not the best, Thursday night games of the season. The Packers are down. Devontae Adams, Allen Lazard. Like I said, I don't think that's a big deal for Aaron Rodgers. It's going to make somebody relevant. Maybe you could throw out MVS in your flex or something like that. I mean, I would. I don't know if I would trust it, but there's going to be fantasy points scored in this game for both sides. So I like a lot of those options here. Arizona does have one of, if not the best defense in the league so far this year in terms of scoring wise. They've been shutting teams down while their offense has been putting up monster numbers. So I mean that's the recipe for success. You got an offense that's awesome, a defense that's getting a ton of pressure on the quarterback, a secondary that has been underratedly good this year. I don't think they're an elite unit, but the fact that they can get a lot of pressure is a big reason why their defense is so successful. And something that wasn't on the news, J.J. Watt is out for the game with the shoulder injury. So I did see that. That's a tough blow, but I still think Arizona has what it takes to get it done. This was we both kind of went through this one a little bit longer than the other games. So this is a great game that I'm very much looking forward to. I think it's going to be a great one.
Yeah, for sure. We even mentioned these guys out, James Conner and Chase Edmonds, both looking good there out of the backfield. And Kyler Murray doesn't even have to run as much as he usually does, which will be really, really big for the Cardinals, I think, down the stretch. So he doesn't get banged up, and the team as a whole doesn't slow down like they did at the second half of last season. So really, really important for them. So we go from a really good game to a really crappy game. Two of the worst teams in the league, the Eagles and the Lions. Roman going with the Lions here. I'm just going to hand over to you, Chris, because I have a feeling I know where you're going to go with this game.
Yep, I'm picking against the Lions. I'm going to take the Eagles. I could see the Lions getting a win here at home against a Philly team that I don't consider to be that good. But I think Jalen Hurts, this is one of the few games of the season where I expect him to have a good game all the way around rather than just in the fourth quarter. I expect a nice, solid performance for him in this one. Another matchup where I do like a lot of the fantasy options. I think Devontae Smith is a good option too. I think there's some other options on the Lions side. You could go with Gainwell as well. I like this matchup in a gross way. I think it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to go with the Lions here because I don't know. They're
Do it,
obviously
man.
the hometown team. I don't know the next time I will be able to pick them to win a game, but and they haven't looked bad. I mean, they're a good 0-7 team, if that makes any sense. Because they easily could have won a few games, but they just continuously shoot themselves in the foot down the stretch. But I think I'm going to go Eagles here, which is probably going to mean the Lions are going to win, just because whenever you bet against them in a way where in a game that they might be able to win, they usually end up on top. So that's just my luck. But what are you going to do? I'm going to go with the Eagles. Hopefully, we can both make up some ground here on Roman with this game. But
Yeah.
next up, another game. Not super intriguing, but both these teams are in the NFC playoff or wild card hunt, excuse me. And they're kind of on reverse pass. The Panthers started out really hot, cooled down mightily as we went over the news and notes. Started ended up getting benched. And then the Falcons started off terribly, and then now they've really kind of picked up this pace here. I think they've won 3 out of their last 4 games. So they get another really enticing matchup here. Roman went with the Falcons. Although I've been on the Falcons or the Panthers bandwagon all year, I think I'm also going Falcons. Their defense is awful, but their offense is really good. Kyle Pitts is finally starting to figure it out. Cordell Patterson's having an amazing season. Calvin Ridley is still very good, obviously. Matt Ryan, solid. I think this is going to be, and I don't think Carolina's offense is that great without CMC. I think
No.
if CMC plays, I think Carolina's going to win this game, but he's most likely going to be out. I think, yeah, he is going to be out again. So give me the Falcons here in this matchup, even though I think it's going to be a relatively close game because, like I said, the Falcons' defense is pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't have the stones to take care. I was hoping you'd go Carolina. I'm gonna go with Atlanta as much as I do kind of want to pick Carolina in this one. If they were at home, I think I would do that, but they're going on the road at a hot Atlanta team that's been playing a lot better as of late. They're also playing like absolute dog crap right now, and they looked lost against the New York Giants, which I know the Giants last year were a good defense. They have not been this year at all. And they looked awesome against Carolina. So I don't know. I'm just kind of confused at what this Carolina team and offense looks like right now. Give me Atlanta. I think they're going to win this game.
Yeah, and it also feels like that the Arthur Smith offense is finally starting to work with Atlanta as well. So, kind of surprised that because I know start the season we all thought the Falcons were going to be one of the worst teams, and the Panthers were looking really good. So I'm kind of surprised to see us all going Falcons here. But like I said, they've been able to turn their season around. Next up, I don't even think we have to discuss this game too much. The Dolphins and the Bills. Dolphins, we already talked about it at nauseum. They're not a good team. They've lost to some bad teams. You're already putting the Bills in. Roman already put the Bills in. I'm about to put the Bills in. Do you have anything you want to add for this matchup?
Absolutely nothing. This is going to be a blowout in Buffalo. Tua has been playing a little better as of late, but uh, they're going to get blown out. I'm sorry, they're going to get destroyed.
Yeah, it's tough because I mean, Miami was obviously they were right there in the playoff hunt last year. I think Roman was pretty low on them, but the rest of us thought maybe they'd at least be in contention for the playoffs. But They're going to be what 1-6, 1-7 after this week, so that's not great. Obviously, very, 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 very bad for the Dolphins. But hopefully, maybe they get Watson, and that can be a silver lining to their season, even if they don't make the playoffs, which I know they all had hoped to start the year. Now we've got the Niners and the Bears, two teams that currently are on the outset of the wild card picture in the NFC. But so this is kind of a must win, I feel like, for both of these teams. The Niners, when we all had high, at least I know I had really high hopes for them, and Jimmy G just hasn't looked great. They lost a kind of a tough game last week against the Colts in prime time. The Bears, Justin Fields. I mean, Roman's not here, but I think he might have been right. I think Penei Sewell might have been the right pick because Justin Fields has not looked good. Their offense hasn't looked good, and Khalil Mack is out as well. So I think I am going to go San Francisco here. I feel like I've picked them a lot, and they always let me down. And I picked against them last week, and it did work, but I don't know. I think this is the definition of a get right game for them. Like I said, Chicago has injuries. They haven't been playing well. Allen Robinson is not been good at all this year. Montgomery's already hurt. So they've got a lot of injuries, a lot of bang ups. I think this is a must need to get right game for the Niners as they try to somehow maybe make up some ground for the division, but probably more importantly, make up some ground in the wild card and still trying to sneak into the playoffs.
And this is where I go different. I'm going to take Chicago. I think at home, Justin Fields has been absolutely terrible, but Jimmy G looked just as bad last week, man, against a Colts team that I don't think is that good. Chicago did face one of the best teams in the league, Tampa Bay, against. I thought Fields had been playing a little bit better before that, and I had a feeling this was going to be ugly. Tampa Bay just absolutely embarrassed him. San Fran is not the same level defense, in my opinion. They've been extremely disappointing so far this year, and I think Chicago being at home gives them a nice advantage. Khalil Mack is going to miss the game. I think that is a big deal, but I'm still going to pick the Bears. I feel like I always have a soft spot for the Bears team. I don't know why. I just kind of pick them a lot more often than you two do. And last year, I mean, they were 8-8, so probably didn't really work out that well for me. But I think this is a game they can win.
Yeah, you always do have a soft spot for the Bears since we've
I
been
don't know
doing this.
why
I
though.
don't really know why, but I
Yeah, I
mean,
don't
you're
know.
right. Jimmy G, like I said, Jimmy G's not a good quarterback either. I think Trey Lance is still banged up, so he's probably not going to be playing. Um, I was thinking this. I mean, it's probably not going to happen because they just spent a top 3 pick on Trey Lance. But I mean, this could be the Niners. Obviously, could be another landing spot for Deshaun Watson. I mean, it seemed like before all of the allegations came out, it was the Niners or the Dolphins. But now things are different. Now, obviously, they spent a high draft pick, like I said. But if Watson was on this team, I think the Niners would be really, really good. But unfortunately, they have a bum at quarterback and Lance, who's still very unproven. So now we've got Steelers, Browns. The Browns got a win last week against the Broncos, but they've been devastated by injuries, and the Steelers are coming off a bye. So I'm interested to see, Chris, who do you like in this matchup? I feel like on paper it's what Roman said in the Browns, but when you take everything into account, there might be a differing opinion here.
Oh man, this is I this is a tough matchup for me, man. I mean, Pittsburgh is, they're coming off a bye. I think that was big. Najee Harris was, he had the cramps a couple weeks ago. I think he's going to be fully healthy. They're going to unleash him like they usually do. Cleveland is battling through the Baker Mayfield injury, and they don't think they look that great against the Broncos. Oh my God. This one is super tough, man. You know what? I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh. I know they're on the road. I like that they're coming off the bye. I don't think Cleveland's playing particularly well right now. They barely scrape by with a win against Denver. And Nick Chubb's banged up. OBJ's banged up. Baker's banged up, and maybe another Case Keenum week. And even if it isn't, Baker, like I said, is injured, so he's probably not going to play that good. And I don't think this Cleveland defense is as formidable. And I kind of went into the year thinking this too. I thought they were more on that top 10 level. A lot of people were like, "Oh, this is one of the best defenses in football." I didn't really see it. I thought the back end was a little bit weaker than and the linebackers not the biggest strong suit. And after Miles Garrett, I don't think their defensive line is anything that special either. So I think Pittsburgh can move the ball here. Big Ben will probably end up being absolutely horrible and sucking. So I'll probably look like an idiot. But you know what? I'm going with Pittsburgh. I need to make up some games. I think this is what I could get.
Um, I'm right there with you, man. I'm going Pittsburgh too. I think Cleveland.
Yeah.
Denver's not a good team, and they were lucky to get past them. I know Baker Mayfield. I believe his status is still up in the air as we're recording this on Wednesday night. So even if he does play, I mean, he's still banged up. They got the OBJ's, you know, not 100%. The running core is not 100%. Jarvis Landry isn't 100%. Everyone's 100% on the Browns. And the Steelers, they're coming off the bye. And I don't know. And also, maybe another extra layer to this is the Steelers got embarrassed in the playoffs last year. And maybe this is a sort of a revenge game. And Big Ben has had a week to relax. Like you mentioned, Najee Harris has a week to relax. The Pittsburgh defense is really, really good. And against a heavily depleted Browns offense, I think the Steelers defense is going to have their way, and I think they're going to win this matchup. So another game where we both differ against Roman, so maybe we can make up some ground here on him. That'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see. Okay, so now we got Titans and the Colts. The Titans just absolutely demolished the Chiefs last week. It was really, really entertaining to watch. And then the Colts did demolish, but won pretty convincingly against the Niners, which is also very impressive. So two teams coming in with a lot of momentum. The Titans, I think, are firmly in place for the division, at least for the time being. And then the Colts are right on their tails, also trying to battle for the AFC South wildcard. I think this is going to be a really close game. I think if you're the Colts and you want to win this division, I think this is a must win. So I think they're going to give it their all and give it their best shot. But I don't know, man. The Titans, I got to go with them. I kind of wanted to go with them last week. For some reason, I had a feeling they were going to beat the Chiefs, but I didn't, just because they've been so up and down this year. But after that loss to the Jets, they were able to kind of wake up, and they've been really, really good ever since then. AJ Brown finally had a huge game last week. So yeah, I'm going Titans here, but I do think the Colts are going to give it their all. And it will not surprise me at all if they find a way to win this game and maybe make this division race a little more interesting.
Yeah, this is one I was considering maybe picking Indiana. I think I am going to go Tennessee in this one, but I like this matchup. I think it's going to be a good one. Indy's starting to play a lot better. I was pretty impressed with the way they played against San Fran last week in the rain. I thought Carson Wentz played well, besides that really boneheaded interception he threw in the red zone. They would have won that game by a lot more if he doesn't throw that. It kind of bailed them out and kept it close for a little longer. But I think Tennessee, Derrick Henry. This is a battle of two really good running backs. Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, both going to have good games, in my opinion. I think Henry is the better, and he's going to get the best of them. And having A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, which both guys are going to play this week, I think having both of them is key for Tennessee to take down Indianapolis. But this is a must win for Indy. So if they can win this game, they get back in the playoff picture. So we'll have to see. Indy is definitely starting to play better. Tennessee is one of the hottest teams in the league, beating Buffalo and dominating Kansas City in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, and you could look at this maybe like this is a letdown game for the Titans. As you said, they're coming with a bunch of momentum, and the Colts are coming in with some momentum as well. That's why I think it's going to be a really good game, but ultimately the Titans are going to find a way to win. Um, now we got the Bengals and the Jets. Bengals are awesome. They might win the division, dude. It's nuts to think
I
about.
know.
And they think they're all but most certainly probably going to make the playoffs unless they just completely fall off the cliff here. And the Jets suck. So as I'm putting the Bengals, obviously, is there anything you want to add to this?
They might win by 300 in this game. I mean, this is Cincy. Honestly, I'm more worried about starting Joe Burrow and co in fantasy this week than I was than any other week, because I think they're just going to blow them out in the first quarter, and they're not going to need to throw a ball much in the second half or anything. I would definitely start Joe Mixon. Let's just put it that way. Honestly, you could probably throw Samaje in the lineup as well. I think
Samaje.
he's probably going to get some garbage time carries, and I think the Jets give up just absolute. I mean, they gave up like three top 10 I mean, JJ Taylor had 2 touchdowns. Damian Harris was a beast. Brandon Bolden was a
Mac
beast. And another
Jones.
running back going there. Yeah, Mac Jones went off. I mean, for fantasy, I'm definitely starting Joe Mixon. And like I said, I would be willing to throw Samaje Perine in my flex if I need to, if I have injuries or bye weeks. But since he's going to dominate.
Yeah, I don't think we need to spend too much time on that. Only thing I can add is Zach Wilson. Hopefully, he gets back sooner rather than later if this team wants to be any relevant. Because Joe Flacco, I don't think is the answer. And I completely forgot he was with the Jets last year too, wasn't he?
Yep.
And he gets traded
What
right
about
back there.
what about Mike? What about Mike White?
Okay.
You like him?
Uh, I don't think he's the savior of New York. I'll just leave it at that. Next up, again, do we really need to discuss this game? Rams, Texans, Texans. You got to hand it to them. They're very similar to the Lions. They play really hard. They put up a really valiant fight. They really did against the Cardinals last week. But they just don't have the talent. They can't do it. I think the same thing's going to happen again this week with the Rams. I think they're going to go in there and just absolutely demolish them. Chris, did you have anything you wanted to add to this game, or
No.
didn't think so?
No, I just found breaking news, and this is I mentioned J.J. Watt he isn't gonna be playing against Green Bay this week. He's not gonna be playing for a very long time, as apparently it sounds like he will go into season-ending shoulder surgery, that is big
Oh
news for the
man,
Cardinals and sucks. It's just a guy that it feels like he can't stay healthy anymore. And maybe he can come back at the end of the year. We'll have to see, maybe for the playoff push. But just another devastating injury for J.J. Watt. And then another injury that I saw this and I didn't put it. It's not on the news and notes. Debo Samuel also banged up. I believe it's a calf injury. May miss week 8. So just a couple injury updates. That's why I didn't put or the Rams right away. I just saw those on my timeline on Twitter really quick. But we can get into the next game because this one is an absolute snooze fest.
yeah. I mean, real quick. I mean, Watt and Debo, two guys who just injuries just completely derailing their careers. I feel like both guys have been very good this year, but unfortunately, like you said, they just can't stay healthy. So hopefully they can get back sooner rather than later. And hopefully, I mean, JJ Watt, I mean, he's getting up there in age. How many more times is he going to be able to come back from these devastating season-ending injuries? I mean, maybe I don't know. It makes you think about how much time he has left before he decides to just hang him up. But anyway, on a lighter note, this is a really interesting game I think between the Chargers and the Patriots. Chargers, I think, believe coming out of the bye, they got smacked by the Ravens 2 weeks ago, so they're probably motivated. And the Patriots, as you just mentioned a few minutes ago, smacked the Jets last week. So both teams kind of coming in with different on different sides of the momentum curve. I don't know what I was trying to say there, but they're two teams that need this win, I guess. The Patriots still try to make the playoffs. The Chargers trying to hold on, or at least they're trying to catch up to the Raiders in the AFC West standings. So I think it's gonna be a really close game, a good game. As people know, I am a Patriots fan, so I want to pick them, but I think the Chargers are just overall a better team. They're coming out of the bye. They're prepared. They're ready to go. I think it's going to be a really close game, like a lot of these games on this slate this week. But I think the Chargers are going to find a way to win.
Yeah, I got the Chargers in this one too. I think this could be a good game. New England's been playing pretty well. It's still a tough team to figure out. You know, Mac Jones has been very good lately. I've been very impressed with him. But at the same time, this is a good defense. I expect New England to run the ball very well. This is a defense that can't stop the run whatsoever. But I think the Chargers have enough coming off the bye, coming off an embarrassing loss to Baltimore before the bye. I think they come out. This is a get right game for them. I think they win a close one, but perform well in this game.
Yeah, I really want the Patriots to win this game, man. I think it would really help them in their playoff push.
Yeah.
But I'm right there with you. I think the Chargers are gonna get it done. Now we've got it. Man, this is an interesting matchup, my friend. Seahawks, who are not a good team, I don't think. Geno Smith is not the answer. I mean, you're hoping Russell Wilson can come back sooner rather than later, but I mean, they had that one bomb to DK Metcalf, but after that, I mean, he did not look great in prime time against the Saints. Their defense isn't great, and you got the Jags, man, coming off the bye. They're an intriguing Met team. I'll let you go first with this game, but I'm interested to see what you're gonna do.
I mean, I have just been so. I think the Seahawks have been absolutely pathetic the last couple weeks. I know they kept it close both times. Oh man, they're a 2-win football team, man, and they look so bad offensively without Russ. Their defense has been better, but they have faced some not that great quarterbacks, not that great offenses. You know what? I am gonna go with the Jacksonville Jaguars coming off the bye. I hate myself for doing this. I think they're gonna get another win, and just what is an absolute game that I do not want to watch. But I think Jacksonville's offense kind of has enough to get the job. I think Trevor Lawrence could have a nice game in this one personally, and should be hopefully better conditions than we had last week in Seattle.
Oh yeah, baby. Let's go Jags. So this is either gonna blow up in our face, or we're gonna make up all three games on Roman
Yep.
right now. Like
Probably blow up in our faces, I guess.
yeah, I mean it's probably the only time all year that we all pick two more than one person picks the Jags. But yeah, I liked the Seahawks. Maybe it's just recency bias, and because it was prime time and it was on Monday Night Football, but they just look so bad, and the Jaguars look pretty good 2 weeks ago, and they're coming out of the bye, as I've said several times. So Trevor Lawrence, this is a statement game, goes into Seattle, what 12th man overcomes that and wins the game. And Urban Meyer's kind of drama is kind of subsided, I think, in large part due to John Gruden kind of taking over all the coaching controversies. So they don't have to really deal with that anymore. So maybe the Jags can find a way to somehow win 2 games in a row. That'd be kind of nuts, and maybe get some positive momentum going. But this might be an easy game for Roman to make up here because he went Seahawks. But give me the Jags. Give me the Jags. All right, now we got Washington football team and the Denver Broncos. Denver, very similar to Carolina. They start off super, super hot, and then they've just fallen off a cliff. They're probably not going to make the playoffs again unless something drastically changes. And the Washington football team, and they just haven't. They've been really mediocre to bad, really all year. So they've also been not great. It's hard to pick this game, man, because they're both. I could easily see either team winning this matchup. Man, this is tough. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go Denver. I'm gonna go Denver, just because I didn't think they looked awful last week against Cleveland, who's obviously a very good team. And I think Washington just has more question marks overall. So I think this might be a get right game for Denver. I think this is a game where, like, if they lose this game, then they're probably not making the playoffs. I think it's easy as that. This is a must win, I think, for them. It's at home, which I think plays into it a little bit as well. But yeah, you're huffing and puffing over there, so I think you might be going Washington. But who you like?
I don't like either one of these teams very much. I mean, Denver, if Denver wins this game, this is the best team that they've beaten all year by a considerable amount, and Washington sucks. So, can I just not pick a game? Is that an option here? Am I
That's
allowed
something.
to just not pick? Can this game? What if I pick this game to end in a tie? I honestly don't
That'd
know
be
what to do.
nuts.
I honestly don't know what to do in this game. I think both teams are not great, but also not terrible. Antonio Gibson's injured. That's a factor. Jerry Jeudy is coming back. I think that could be good for the Denver offense. Man, this is brutal. Like I said, this is an interesting slate, man. This is very, very reminiscent of a couple already games that I've been torn. I mean, like Pittsburgh, Cleveland, I think is another one. Chicago, San Fran. A lot of games where I am just torn between who is going to win. So this could really blow up in my face. I am gonna pick the Washington football team, even though I don't like this pick at all. But I don't like if I pick Denver, it's gross too. I don't think Denver is a good team. They've been playing like absolute crap. I think this could be, and I'm probably again, this is probably going to blow up in my face. I think this could be a get right game for that Washington defense. They've been absolutely terrible this year, but they have a lot of talent, a team that I think had really high expectations coming into the year and haven't delivered. I think this could be a get right game for Washington, and this is one they absolutely need.
Yeah, it's gonna be. You said this word several times, and that word was gross. I think that's the perfect definition of this game. It's gonna be gross. It's not gonna be great. Any game that has Teddy Two Gloves as a quarterback is just a gross game, as evidenced by last week's TNF. And I hate that we just rip on Teddy Two Gloves all the time, but like, he's a tough watch. He's a tough watch. And Taylor Heineke isn't much better. So, it's gonna be a gross game, but it's gonna be an interesting game. I think it's gonna be really close, for the most part. Now we've got the Buccaneers and the Saints. I'll hand it over to you. I think this is kind of a pretty clear favorite, unless you're going to go a little bit off the board. But Alvin Kamara did look really, really good, and the Saints looked decent on Monday Night Football, but it was against the Seahawks, and this is the defending Super Bowl champs.
Hey, you're not stopping TB12 in this one. No int, and this is another thing that should have been on there. Antonio Brown with a significant ankle injury, which is crushing for both my fantasy team and a fantasy take I've had this year. Is that he's been awesome, man. I mean, he's been great all year, but this injury sucks for him and the Bucks offense. But I think it's the offense is really going to run through Godwin, Evans, and then also Uncle Lenny, playoff Lenny Fournette. Um, Tampa Bay, I think, is there. I think they're really going to struggle to run the ball, but they'll be able to throw. Marshawn Lattimore will be on Mike Evans, so I would expect a big game from Chris Godwin in this one for sure. But it'll be a fun matchup. I'm looking forward to it, but I think Tampa Bay is going to get the job done.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I mean, and the Saints might kind of keep it interesting through 3 quarters. hang around. They're not an awful team, but I think ultimately the Bucks are going to pull away and win semi-convincingly. So I don't have too much to add to that matchup. Now Sunday Night Football, Cowboys Vikings. Man, can the Cowboys just not play a primetime game one time? I mean, geez, it feels like they're on the primetime all the time. But anyway, this is. I mean, I kind of want to go Vikings here. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of want to go Vikings, but the Cowboys just look so good coming out of the bye. Yeah, I'm gonna go Minnesota. For whatever reason, like you said, you like Chicago a lot irrationally. I like Minnesota a lot, at least this year. I mean, Kirk Cousins can never win the primetime games, which that kind of plays into it as well. But Dallas has just been so good, and I think Minnesota is just a little bit better team than they've been facing at least recently. That I think Minnesota might catch Dallas a little bit off guard and find a way to win this matchup. But I think I didn't really go up and get with a super crazy pick in this week yet, and this might be my super crazy pick of the week with the Vikings over the Cowboys.
It can't be that crazy because I'm going Minnesota, baby.
Okay.
I both teams coming off a bye. Minnesota's a good football team, man. I mean, they've lost to and I just heard this today actually. They started off 0-2 this year, which maybe made them look bad. They lost to the Arizona Cardinals, who are the
And
one
Cincinnati
seed in the West, or in the NFC, the West. What am I saying? But the NFC
in the
and the
NFL.
AFC. Yeah, exactly. And the AFC, they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals in overtime, which have proven to be the best team in the AFC. So this is a team that I don't think their record shows how good they're, and they have been, honestly, they don't even have that bad of a record, but they've been playing extremely well. I think they're going to make the playoffs, and I think this is a step in the right direction. I would have picked whoever the home team was in this one. It's Minnesota, and I think, and he's too good for a fantasy pick, and he's on my fantasy team, so I didn't want to say him. I think Justin Jefferson has a absolute field day. He may have Trayvon Diggs on him, but Diggs is a guy that gives up a lot of big plays. So I expect Justin Jefferson to eat in this game. I think off the bye, he's fully healthy now after the little ankle banged up injury he had. I think he's going to eat.
And Kirk Cousins has been pretty good this year too. I know people make
Yes.
fun of him because of his vaccine comments and his bubble, wanting to live in a bubble and all that crap, but he's been really good this year. And I think that's gone largely unnoticed. So maybe he's able to get that monkey off his back, win a primetime game against America's team in the Cowboys. But I do think it's going to be I could very easily see the Cowboys winning this game and us looking like idiots once again, and just Roman just extends his lead by as seeing that he obviously went with the Cowboys. So I think it's going to be. I feel like we've had some kind of duds on the primetime games, at least the last couple of weeks, and I'm really interested in this game, which is it's just nice for a change.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, speaking of duds on primetime games, we have the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Giants. The Chiefs, obviously, we talked about the Mahomes injury briefly earlier. They're not a great football team, at least right now. But this is the definition of a get right game for them. You're already going Chiefs. I'm going Chiefs. I know the Giants are coming off a win, but I think Jabril Peppers I saw is done for the year. They have already so many injuries already. As you mentioned, their defense isn't that great. Their offense isn't that great. All the injuries, weird coaching. They're not a great team. So the Chiefs are able to go in at home, Monday Night Football, get right game, hopefully figure some stuff out, and maybe this could be the boost they need to be good. Or the Giants just go in and shock the world, and the Chiefs misfortunes and not corruption, but just their implosion continues. So we'll have to wait and see. But do you have anything to add to this game or the slate as a whole?
It's a great slate. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching this because there could be some fantasy implications for me having Travis Kelsey. Hopefully, I'll get a good game out of him. I think Kansas City drops a bomb on the Giants in this game. I think they blow them out at home at Arrowhead on prime time. Mahomes is probably pissed right now that they've been losing. They just got embarrassed by Tennessee. I think they win this game by 20 plus, man. I think they're going to blow them out. Daniel Jones has been playing well, and that defense does suck. I could see something like a 40-20 score. I think that's probably around maybe 41-21, something like that. I think they're going to win this game very easily, though.
Yeah, I think that's very realistic. I think that's probably how this game's going to end up in that 40-20 range. And like I said, though, if it doesn't, it might be time to hit the panic button for real in
Yeah.
Kansas City. If it's not already time to hit the panic button, because I
Yeah.
mean, they're going to make the playoffs, I think, but they might not. I don't know. They got to turn things around here pretty quick because they looked really bad last week. But yeah, so that's the picks for this week. But before we get out of here, we're gonna go over the fantasy faves. So Roman sent his in before we recorded, and he is going with Robert Woods. against the Texans, and then Kenneth Gainwell against the Lions. I like both these picks, especially the Gainwell pick, because Miles Sanders is obviously going to be injured. The Lions defense kind of sucks. Gainwell's probably going to get a lot of run, which means he's going to be a very, very valuable asset. I think it's easily to see him be an RB2 this week. I think just as long as he gets the touches, because it was a little concerning, I guess, to see that Boston Scott did get some run last week, and not like Boston Scott's amazing, but he's solid. So, but overall, I do like the Gainwell pick, and then Robert Woods. I mean, he's been the second fiddle clearly to Cooper Kupp. Hasn't really been as good, I think, as we've hoped. The Texans do suck. Their defense isn't awful, but it is not great either. So I don't know. The Robert Woods pick I'm not as in love with, just because he hasn't been good as much this year, and the Cooper Kupp connection with Stafford is very, very real. So I don't know. I don't see Woods having a monster game. But I don't hate the pick either. I think he's probably just be solid. Not a game win, not a week winner, but not a week loser either. But did you have any comments on Roman's picks before you hop into yours?
Yeah, so I mean, with Gainwell, I think he's a high end flex, low end number two running back, a guy that's a good pickup off the waiver wire, off your bench, throw him in the lineup. He's honestly, as of right now, ahead of Miles Sanders in fantasy overall this year. I believe he's like the RB28. Sanders is a lot lower. He's been terrible this year. But I think Boston Scott, honestly, you could throw him in the flex too and get probably a touchdown or something out of him. I know I had to throw Boston Scott in my lineup, I believe, on a Thursday night last year. I remember he had a nice receiving touchdown. I don't know why I remember this. I think it maybe was against the Giants, if I'm remembering right. But so he always kind of finds a way to deliver when he's
Yeah.
thrust. He's not some
Yep.
superstar, but I feel like he's a guy you could throw in if you need some points. And then Robert Woods actually has, honestly, and I looked at it today actually, which is it's kind of funny, without realizing that was Roman's pick. He's actually been all right this year, man. I mean, he had that one really nice game where he didn't score any touchdowns, but he had a lot of yards and reception. But he's had a lot of touchdowns this year too, and I believe right now he's in PPR. He's hovering right around the wide receiver 20, which for the draft price, not that bad actually. It feels like a major disappointment because of how awesome Cooper Kupp has been, but he really has. He's a wide receiver too. I mean, he's not the best, but he's definitely. He ain't Allen Robinson, and that's all that really matters, in my
Yeah, that's
opinion.
true.
So he's definitely a guy that I'm willing to start. I think he's a low end number two. Houston, like you said, I mean, they're not a great defense, but they're also, I think, maybe they don't give up as many points because their offense is so bad. They may have Tyrod Taylor back this week, so maybe we'll see a couple more little more statistics from the offense, but it is the Rams, so probably not. Um, I would expect a decent game out of Woods. Just hopefully this doesn't end up being a blowout really quickly, so it doesn't end up going that poorly. But I'll jump into my first fantasy pick, and I'll let you take the next two, and I'll close it with mine. My first pick is a guy that's a big name. He got off to a really good start this year. Kind of with the team starting off 3-0, he got off to an unbelievable start, and that's DJ Moore going at Atlanta. I think he's going to have a monster game this week. He's been actually really bad the last few weeks for fantasy because Sam Darnold's been horrible. He's been just as bad. He's been borderline unplayable the last few weeks after just an awesome start. And I thought he really leveled up for fantasy with Darnold, but since the CMC injury, he's been pretty irrelevant. I think against Atlanta, they're going to need to score points to stay in this game. I think he's a perfect target this week. Like I said, a guy that's a little bit of a bigger name that's been very disappointing after an awesome start. So I think more. He's a high end number two wide receiver for me this week. After the last few weeks probably being more in that low end number two flex ish territory. This week I'm starting him with full confidence against an Atlanta defense that does not scare me.
Yeah, I agree. I mentioned, I think earlier we were talking about Darnold, how DJ Moore has really fallen off a cliff, and I think it's gone largely unnoticed, following the CMC injury. But for him, I think might be the definition of a get right game for him personally, even though obviously we think the Panthers are going to lose. But the Falcons' defense is not great. I think there's a very real possibility the Panthers are down a lot in this game, and they're going to need to keep up with the pretty solid Atlanta offense. So I think DJ Moore's gonna get a lot of run. I think he's going to be a really good pick for fantasy. And hopefully he can kind of give your team the production that he had in the first few weeks of the season, and not the last few weeks. And I guess at the very least, be better than he's been the last couple of weeks, which I think is very, very realistic. If he's not able to do it kind of like what I said with Allen Robinson last week. If he wasn't able to do it against Tampa Bay, it's probably not happening again this year. I think that's how I feel about DJ Moore in this matchup. If he's not able to figure it out against a bad Atlanta defense, there might be some serious concerns here for the rest of the year. But Overall, I do really like the pick, and I actually, for my first fantasy pick, I'm staying in that same game, and I'm going on the other side of the football, and I'm going with a guy who, this is kind of a basic pick. I do acknowledge that, but I just wanted to give him a shout out because we kind of trashed him a little bit because he was not good to start the year, especially when you look at his draft price. But he was your guy, and then he kind of became my guy. And I just have to ask you, Chris, do you have any deodorant? Because it's time to talk about the Pitts, Kyle Pitts, tight end, clear tight end one. It's been a rough year for tight ends. Let's be real. I mean, George Kittle is hurt, and even before the injury, he was irrelevant. Travis Kelsey's been good, but not like he's been really good. What am I saying? Travis Kelsey's really good. Then you got Dawson Knox was good, but then he got hurt. And then
Waller
like
hasn't been as good.
Darren Waller hasn't been that good.
Hawkinson
Um,
started off hot, hasn't been as good.
yeah, so it's just
Andrews has
been
been very good. That's been another
yeah,
guy that's been
and
very
he's
good.
been pretty
But
consistent. Yeah, but other than that, it's been a tough year for tight ends, and I think Kyle Pitts fell in that category there for the first few weeks. But these last 2 weeks, he's had over 20 points. He's getting more targets. He's finding the end zone. He's getting over 100 yards, and I think that's going to continue this week. Even though Carolina's not a bad defense, I think it's just the connections there, the chemistry is finally there, and I think Kyle Pitts is really going to show how he's worth the fourth to sixth round pick that you spent on him on draft night a few months ago. And he was looking really disappointing there to start the year. But now I think it's finally living up to that potential. This is more of it's a fantasy pick, not only for this week, but for the rest of the season. And like I said, he's been so good. I wanted to just highlight him again real quick here. Because I think he deserves it because we kind of trashed him to start the year because he wasn't that good. And now he's just been a monster. And I think he's going to continue that here in week 8.
yeah, I like the pick a lot. I think he's been awesome the last couple weeks, and he's honestly their wide receiver one now. I mean, they line him up on the outside. This is why Calvin Ridley's been a major disappointment this year, and this is something I don't think a lot of people predicted Ridley to be not great this year, but he really hasn't been. He's been all right, but he hasn't been anything special for fantasy. I think he will pick it up, but I really like Kyle Pitts. I think he's a top 3 tight end for the rest of the year, and I think Drew is starting to reap the rewards of taking the risk. I know a lot of people had maybe a little unrealistic expectations for him come out and just dominate day one. It took a few weeks, but he's starting to figure it out how to dominate on this level, and you're already seeing him being one of the best tight ends. Like honestly, if you said at the end of the year he was the clear tight end one, just based on points, I wouldn't be that surprised. I love Travis Kelsey. He's been awesome. I could see it, man. I think Pitts has been that good the last couple weeks. He keeps getting this many targets. He's gonna find his way at least tight end two for sure.
Yeah, tight end one would be crazy, man. Past Travis Kelsey as a rookie, that'd be pretty nuts. But I think tight end two is very very much in the cards. Because like I said, there's not really that clear guy outside of Mark Andrews, but he's shown in the past where he can be kind of up and down. So yeah, I really like Pitts, and I wanted to give him a shout out here because I think he's special, man. He's really really special. So next up, though, a guy who I don't think, and forgive me, he might have got picked before, but I don't think he has. This is a guy that I don't really think we talk about at all. And I got to be honest, I was surprised when I saw how solid of a year he's having. He's a top 30 wide receiver. He's averaging 15 points a game, 15 points a game. He had a really tough start to the year at 9 points and 6 points in PPR, but then after that, in weeks 3 through 6, he had 26 points, 13 points, 20 points, and 14 points. Finding the end zone 4 times over that stretch. And that's Emmanuel Sanders with the Buffalo Bills. Like, that's a little surprising. I did not know he was having that good of a year until I did some research. I feel like when you think of the Bills, you probably think of, I mean, I know Dawson Knox, who's hurt now, but he started off the year. Obviously, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, who's been really up and down, largely disappointing. And then Emmanuel Sanders, like he's just gone super unnoticed. And he's been really good. And he's only owned in 73% of ESPN leagues, which is also kind of surprising for how good he's been. So yeah, I think he's a guy you can throw in your flex spot and you can start him with confidence. As we mentioned, the Miami defense is not good, so they got a really enticing matchup. And I think he can easily get you 10 to maybe even 20 points in that flex spot. Or he could be an interesting trade candidate too if you think maybe he can't keep this up. He's got a lot of solid points, so maybe you can try and trade him after this week as well. So I like starting him with confidence this week based on his recent performance as well as the matchup.
Yeah, Sanders was actually my other pick too. So it was a good call. A guy that I really like this week. I think he's been the guy that's really been getting the deep shots that Diggs got last year. It's been more Diggs underneath, and you're seeing Sanders getting these deep targets every week, and I really like that for having him with pairing him with these deep shots with a quarterback that can get him the ball, and he's been awesome lately, man. I mean, I Sanders has been one of the most underrated signings in the offseason. I mean, this is a guy that I thought he was done, man. I mean, I traded him and I
Yeah,
threw him into a trade in Dynasty in one of my leagues. I had no idea why the guy wanted him while he was still on the Saints. I was like, all right, sure. Yeah, you can have him too. I don't care. And now I'm starting to hurt because I wish I still had him because
yeah,
he's nobody else values him very high. You could probably still go trade for him on the extremely cheap too. I think that he's been very under the radar this year. He plays a Miami secondary that I don't respect or think is very good, and I think that they're gonna have no problem scoring. I'm throwing Sanders in there as a wide receiver too. Honestly, at this point, until further notice, I think he's been awesome, and I think he's gonna keep it up. But I'll give you my last name, and then we can get out of here. It's a guy that I've mentioned before, and when I did, it's another receiver. He had a very rough game. I believe I mentioned him a couple weeks ago. I don't remember who he played against, but he only had like 5 points, and that's Michael Pittman Jr. playing the
I like it.
Tennessee Titans defense, which I know they looked good last week, but it's still a defense that I really don't respect. He's home in front of the home fans, coming off a game where I thought he looked incredibly good against the Niners in a rainstorm. I mean, he had a fantastic catch at the end of that game. He just mossed a DB and got into the end zone too. Pittman has been really good this year. He's been a wide receiver two all year with some inconsistency. So you could get a bad game from him every once in a while, but that's how it works for a lot of these. I mean, DJ Moore's another guy. Even Sanders, the guy that you're probably going to get a few bad games from. You got to keep rolling them out there. Pittman's the clear alpha. I don't care who else is on the field. I believe maybe Ty will play. I don't care. It doesn't matter. He's their wide receiver one. Carson Wentz looks actually pretty good somehow, but give me Pittman Jr. starting him as a wide receiver two every single week from here on out. Similarly to Emmanuel Sanders, think it's gone under the radar how his improvements from year 1 to 2 have gone.
Yeah, you and I are in lockstep because you had Sanders as your second guy. I had Sanders as my second guy. You had Pittman as your backup. I had Pittman as my backup because I like the matchup a lot. I think Roman I know is pretty high on Pittman as well. And like you said, he's the clear alpha. Carson Wentz seems to be getting comfortable. The Indianapolis Colts as a whole seem to be getting more comfortable. I think they're going to be down a little bit in this game, and they're going to need to be able to keep up with the high flying Tennessee offense. So they're going to throw a lot. And I think Pittman's going to reap the benefits of that. I think he's going to be a really, really nice starter there if you want him in your wide receiver two spot or your flex spot. I think he can give you some really solid production. Hopefully, like 10 to 15 points. It is like the floor. I think he could easily go above that as well. So I really, really like that pick.
Yeah, not much to add there. A good episode overall. It's a slate that I'm very much looking forward to on Halloween weekend too. All of these games besides Arizona and Kansas City games are on Halloween, so we should be. I would expect some fireworks in some of these games. I think there's going to be some crazy, especially fantasy wise. I think there's going to be some crazy performance. I always feel like some crazy stuff happens on Halloween weekend.
Yeah, it's pretty cool this year that it's actually on Halloween as well. Like you said, the majority of the slate. I don't remember the last time that's happened. It's very, very, very cool. It's probably gonna be some like cool like cleats and apparel that players are wearing as well. So it's gonna be fun to watch. But yeah, once again, we're the Zone Defense Podcast. We do these episodes of the NFL every single week, along with fantasy analysis and breaking news episodes. So be sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Spotify and Twitter at Zone Defense Pod, and there's an Apple Podcast, so you don't miss any of that awesome content. Smash that like button, smash that like button down below, and drop a comment. Let us know what you think about this awesome slate as we've discussed. Any of the news and notes. Where do you think Watson's going to end up? Do you think Darnold's going to be able to maintain his starting job in Carolina long term? Or discuss any of the injuries and what you think those impact, how you think those are going to impact those teams throughout the rest of the season. But once again, thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.